theatrical, over-the-top intro today, but then I was like,
I don't really feel like it.
the Titans came out the next week, being yesterday, without our best player who has undoubtedly carried this franchise to unbelievable amount of success in the last 2 years. We came out and we absolutely beat the shit out of the best team in the league on the road. Our defense ranked last in the league last year. Now it's a top 7 defense. The offense has to be more consistent. The run game's going to be a problem. We can't win anything without Derrick Henry. I don't like to jinx a team. I don't like to say Super Bowl. Right now, we are the best team in the AFC, and you will not tell me otherwise. Now, we have a shit ton of games this week. I feel bad for people that did money lines, because this was the most lopsided week in the NFL, but when NFL Week 9 review. Stay right here. Ladies and gentlemen, we look at this week in football, any week in football. Every week, you get some games that are upsetting. You get some games that you don't expect to go the way you planned. Then you get some weeks where it is nothing like you planned. This is, in my recent memory, this is the most upsetting weekend in NFL history. And it's not even over yet. We have Pittsburgh playing Chicago, and based on the trend of events, I wouldn't be surprised to see Chicago win because it's that kind of week. Now, Chicago's not a better team than Pittsburgh. We know this. The game could go either way. Chicago's defense can play a great game. They could play a not great game. I saw something very insulting on SportsCenter before. I saw people comparing Justin Fields to Ben Roethlisberger. Now, maybe Ben Roethlisberger should have retired 2 seasons ago, but if you want my honest opinion, Justin Fields is not even on the level below him. Don't ever insult Ben Roethlisberger like that. That's not me saying Justin Fields is trash. Justin Fields can run with the football, but Justin Fields has not had a good offensive performance, and part of that is because the Chicago offense has no passing. There's no passing. Allen Robinson, I don't know where he's been. Has he been hurt? Has he just been underperforming? Chicago fans, feel free to sound off. Chicago does have a good defense. It'll never maybe be what it was when Khalil Mack was there. Or excuse me, he is there. The thing is, Chicago has also a good secondary. Pittsburgh has, in the last couple of weeks, they started off really rough. They've leveled up their level of play, and I think Pittsburgh could have a big game tonight. I think if Pittsburgh wants to make an AFC, not only an AFC North statement, but a statement to the AFC, they would have a big game tonight. I think that I see Pittsburgh running away with this one big time, but based on this week, like I said, with the recent trend of events, I would not be shocked to see Chicago not win, but make Pittsburgh sweat. I still got the Steelers winning. Last game of the week, Sunday Night Football, ladies and gentlemen. I don't like to toot my own horn, man, but we lost the best running back in football, the best player on our team. We walked into LA against the best team in the league, and we pretty much ripped them. So, while there is another 9 games left, 8, excuse me, bye week, they look pretty damn good right now. The defense was one of the worst last season. And like I said in the intro, they've elevated to one of the best. The pass rush is insane. We need more from the offense. This run game didn't have to be great last night because, by God, it was awful. But you will not get very far if your offense is stagnant. But we'll see. We need more from Julio Jones, so on and so forth. We're not going to let this one drag out a half hour like the last one. Let's get to it. Thursday Night Football. The Jets rolled in, and I want people to have a knowledge of this. I write down all the stats. Everything I say based off the team, based off of everything, that's all up here. That's what we call 15 years of everyday research and knowledge and following the league. Not to brag. The Jets rolled in with Mike White. Now, Zach Wilson was supposed to come in as the promise guy. You know, so many, again, like I mentioned last week, these young quarterbacks with all this potential get thrown not only to the NFL, they're getting thrown to teams that are terrible. Jacksonville's not good. The Jets are not good. The Jets have shown you a little bit of hope, but nothing like it needs to be. Zach Wilson got hurt. In came Mike White. Who the hell is this kid? Mike White, in his 2 or 3 starts, played pretty damn good for the Jets. Mike White gets hurt in this game. In comes Josh Johnson. Josh Johnson didn't play that well either. If Mike White comes back next week, or Josh Johnson plays another decent game, the Jets put up 30 points. They don't tend to do that often. If Josh Johnson plays again, I'm assuming Mike White will play. They said Wilson could be ready next week. Or if Wilson comes in and he's just miserable, the Jets will have a dilemma. Now, obviously, the main goal is to have Zach Wilson be your franchise quarterback. But if he comes back, I don't know who they play. I'll have to check, and I will do that right now as we speak. If Zach Wilson comes back and he lays an absolute egg, or he gets hurt again, what does that say? Let's take a look at next week's schedule. Week 10 is the Jets will play Buffalo. Now, that's an interesting one. Buffalo is coming off of an awful loss. Zach Wilson will be thrown against Buffalo. I don't see Buffalo losing that game. If Buffalo loses again after getting shut down by the Jaguars, there's a problem in Buffalo. But he's going to get thrown to a good team, and we'll talk about that later in the week. We get to the stat sheet. Again, dilemma. Josh Johnson, 317 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. Carter, 49 yards on the ground. And Elijah Moore, 7 receptions, 84 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So obviously the rookies for the New York Jets performing. Michael Carter in fantasy is actually your top-ranked running back right now if you do not have one. Kind of interesting, if you ask me. Great stat sheet for the Colts. 272 yards and 3 touchdowns for Carson Wentz. Jonathan Taylor continues to cement himself as maybe the best running back in the league next to Kamara. 172 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Michael Pittman Jr. again, elevating his game this year. 5 receptions, 64 yards, and a touchdown. Offensive showdown. 45-30, the Colts beat the Jets. This was a beat down early. The Jets showed some resilience, but they didn't get the job done. Why is my mouse doing this? I'm trying to scroll down the sheet, and it's taking me straight to straight to where I don't want to go. New York football on Sunday. The Giants' defense came up pretty damn big. We talk a lot of shit about the Giants, and we will continue to do so as long as they are miserable, because they are competing with the Jets for the worst team to take the field at MetLife Stadium. And it's unanimously been the Jets the last couple of years, but the Giants' last 2 years have really shown that they can compete with the Jets for the worst team to take the field at MetLife. Derek Carr, 296 yards and 2 interceptions. Josh Jacobs, 78 yards. Darren Waller, 7 receptions for 92 yards. We get to the Giants side of things. Daniel Jones, 110 yards and a touchdown, but no mistakes. Booker, 99 yards. Evan Ingram, 3 receptions, 38 yards and a touchdown. The Giants need to get rid of Evan Ingram, and they need to do it sooner rather than later. Now, a lot of people will question me because I like Anthony Ferkshire as our tight end. But I wouldn't mind having Evan Ingram be a backup tight end. Now, because he's one of those players where he does nothing on the Giants, but he has potential to, maybe if he's in the right system, perform a little more. Again, I wouldn't throw the window at him. I wouldn't make a trade. But if the Giants want to get rid of Evan Ingram, throw him some draft picks, late round draft picks. I mean, the guy hasn't done anything at all on the Giants. Not for years. So that's that. 23-16, the Giants get the win. Their defense comes up big. Where they go next week, nobody knows. I'll check it right here, and I think it's smart that I keep this on here. The Giants next week will play the absolute bye week. The Giants will have a bye week. I didn't know if they had theirs yet. Titans-Rams, man. Talking about this one early. We usually try to go in chronological order, but fuck that. Titans-Rams, the Titans are going in without their best running back. The absolute engine of our offense. Jalen Ramsey's in the game guarding Brown. Julio's coming back. Our run game consists of an old Adrian Peterson and Jeremy McNicholas, who's done nothing, honestly. Foreman might get some reps going forward. He only had 29 yards in this game, but if you look at Dante Foreman's runs for the Titans, he ran hard, and he's one of those guys I had my eyes on last year. They still have Jeremy McNichols, who could, stay our running back, but he shouldn't be our starting running back. I would give Foreman a chance because, again, Henry's out, and you need to mix and match with running backs. Maybe the Titans have to sign another free agent running back. Who's free? I think Adrian Peterson was a good signing, but you have to realize at the same time you're not going to get 150 yards. You're not going to get a 250-yard Hall of Fame. Adrian Peterson has the record for the most rushing yards in a game, 296. Derrick Henry could break it. Why risk it? I don't know. I can see that record being broken. We've seen a couple of players hit 230, 250. If they really ran them to the ground, I think that can be a record that's broken. But we'll start off with the Titans side of things. Defense wins championships, and it wins games too. The Titans' offense was not really much of a factor in this game. Tannehill, 143 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. And before we go any further, we know that we've had some offensive injuries. Brown was sick. Julio's had a hamstring injury for almost most of the year. Henry's done a lot of the work. Ryan Tannehill has struggled this year. Now, part of that is because the offensive line has been terrible. They played a little bit better yesterday. But the offensive line for the Titans most of the season has been awful. And when you didn't have that problem last year, when your line can't block for the quarterback, it's vice versa. Our pass rush was insane. We had Stafford rumbling. He threw 2 picks. Should have been a safety in the end zone, but they didn't call it because he just fucking winged it because he didn't want the safety. Byer picked it and ran it in for 5-6 yards for a touchdown. A pass rush will win you games. A defense wins championships. A pass rush will win you games because when you're able to pressure the quarterback, he tends to, well, first off, he either gets sacked, which is a loss of X amount of yards, or he tends to make a decision out of instinct out of instinct and just wings it. It's like when a dodgeball gets thrown at you, you don't think about moving, you just do it. Matthew Stafford does the same thing, and quarterbacks make mistakes. So pass rush for the Titans has been unbelievable this year. Again, tough start defensively first couple of games. Tannehill, like I said, Foreman was the lead rusher with 29 yards. AP had 21 yards. He had a touchdown, but again, this is okay for now. But again, you need to find a runner that's decent to carry the load because we just don't have that right now. A.J. Brown was pretty much a non-factor. 5 receptions for 42 yards. Jalen Ramsey was in his head the whole game. Jalen Ramsey should have been ejected. He wasn't. Figures. Stafford, 294 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks. Robert Woods, top receiver, 7 receptions, 98 yards. Cooper Kupp was invisible in this game. Our secondary played fantastic. Our pass rush was beautiful. Our offense was the problem. And it's usually the other way around. It's vice versa for the Titans. Usually, Henry makes the offense go better. We don't have him. And, even though our second half of the schedule is a much easier one, Henry, his presence is going to be missed. And it was in this game because our running backs combined for less than 60 yards. 3 running backs combined for less than 60 yards. So Henry gets 60 yards in the first quarter. So 28-16, dominant performance by the Titans. Titans will head back home and host the Saints. 7-2. They have the number 1 seed in the AFC. Playoffs end today. The Titans have a first-round bye and home field throughout the playoffs. Way to go, boys. 7-2. Keep it rolling. Keep it rolling. Cleveland and Cincinnati. The second Odell Beckham Jr. leaves the locker room. All of a sudden, we have this life and energy. Maybe because Odell Beckham Jr. is a cancer to the NFL locker. He's a cancer to the NFL. Mayfield, 218 yards, 2 TDs. Chubb, 137 and 2 TDs. And People-Jones, 2 receptions, 86 yards and a touchdown. Burrow, not a good game, 282 yards, 2 picks. Mixon, 64 and 2 TDs. Higgins, 6 receptions, 78 yards. The Browns beat the life out of Cincinnati, 41-16. If this is a trend of what's to come to Cleveland, they will also be an AFC threat. We talk about Buffalo maybe falling off. The Titans are the hottest team right now in the AFC. One of the hottest teams in the NFL outside of the Cardinals. We now look at Cleveland and say, okay, good performance. Is this going to carry over? Outside looking in, the Browns and Ravens are right there. So while everyone will maybe look up and say, oh, Bills, Titans. Kansas City's also in the mix too. Are they going to have a deep run? I don't think so. But Kansas City is going to do enough to find a way into the playoffs. They might not win the division. They might. I still got the Chargers winning. The Raiders are starting to look vulnerable. Who else is in the AFC West? Raiders, Chiefs, Chargers. I'm missing. Broncos. Good big win for the Broncos, but things never hold up in Denver, so I wouldn't count on that. 41-16, Cleveland gets the win. Speaking of Denver and Dallas. Prescott was questionable for this game, and one of the things I said was if Prescott can go, let him go. If he's a re-injury risk, sit him. Because in all reality, on paper, at least going into the week, the Cowboys shouldn't need Dak Prescott to beat the Broncos, but here we are. Bridgewater, 249 and a touchdown. Williams, 111 on the ground. Tim Patrick, 4 receptions, 85 yards and a touchdown. We get to the Dallas side of things, and we don't really have much to talk about. Prescott had 232, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Broncos, man, beat the life out of Dallas at home, 30-16. The Broncos are now second in the AFC West. Or are they 5-4? They didn't have the bye week yet. 5-4. The Chargers are 4-4 maybe. I think the Chargers had their bye week. Speaking of bye weeks, we as in the Titans, we don't have a bye week until week 13. We're late. I don't know when the cutoff is. I know last year, 17-game season, the last bye weeks for any teams is week 14 and maybe pushed to 15 now. But to have a bye week that late towards the end of December, I mean, shit. You're grinding out 14 games in a row. You know what I mean? So, what does it mean for Dallas? It means a tough loss. I could have almost predicted this score going into this game. Miami and Houston, I picked Miami to win. Not because they're good, they're terrible, but because Houston's that bad. Beginning of the season, Houston showed some potential, but that doesn't last. Tyrod Taylor was the man in Houston yesterday. And if we talk about placeholder quarterbacks who somehow still have a contract, he's on that list. 240 yards and 3 interceptions against that 1-7 team. Jacoby Brissett, 244, 2 touchdown and 2 picks. We're talking about Miami now. Gaskins, 34 and a touchdown, and Jalen Waddle, 8 receptions for 83 yards. Miami beats Houston 17-9. I'm going to look this up real quick because I do not know. Tua, is he rested? Tua Tagovailoa, is he hurt again? Yeah, he's hurt again. Again, Tua's one of those quarterbacks where he's decent. I don't believe in the hype. I never thought Tua was as good as people projected him to be. I don't think he's bad either. Tua did not play. He had limited in practice with a finger injury. We were just talking, me and my dad were just talking the other day about how players in the NFL used to be so tough. Now, again, you don't want to burn someone in the ground, but you have a finger injury. A finger injury. Is it broken? Is it sprained? If your finger hurts and you're not playing, what? A finger injury. When I was in sports camp, I had a basketball jabbed into my thumb, hurt like a motherfucker. If we're talking about something like that, you don't have a man on your hands. You have a diva. But I don't know that. He really, he rested with a finger injury. I'm going to check. I might put it in the link below. There's actually this guy that breaks down every sports injury. He has, CGI that kind of breaks it down. And he breaks down every injury. Broke down Derrick Henry's. I don't think Tua's injury is significant, but if it is, he may break that down as well. Miami gets the win. It means nothing. They're absolutely awful, and they will continue to be awful for the rest of the season. We talk about upsets this week. Atlanta and New Orleans. That is what we're talking about here, folks. Listen. Atlanta started off rough. They always do. Atlanta sucks. But they've showed you the past couple of weeks that there is improvements being made. Not on the defensive side of the ball, because the Falcons haven't had a defense since fucking Deion Sanders. Matt Ryan, 343 and 2 TDs. Cordell Patterson did not really run, but he had 6 receptions for 126 yards through the air. Trevor Siemian does enough to get the job done, 249 and 2 touchdowns. Alvin Kamara, 50 yards and a touchdown. He also caught for 4 receptions and 54 yards. We talk about a running back, the best outside of McCaffrey. The best dual threat running back in the league is him. I say right behind Henry is Kamara as the best back in the league. Jonathan Taylor is now in that conversation. 27-25, the Falcons beat the Saints on a game-winning field goal from Young-Hung McCung-Kung-Kung-Kung-Koo. Good win for the Falcons. The Saints, they need Jameis Winston. We talk about the Patriots being a real threat. They didn't play anybody yesterday, but it's kind of hard for people to start categorizing the Patriots as a Super Bowl threat when their starting quarterback had 139 yards, a touchdown, and a pick against one of the worst teams in the league. Stevenson, 62 yards. He also caught 2 receptions, 44 yards. Have no idea what the hell that is. Darnold, awful game, 172 and 3 picks. McCaffrey, 52 yards on the ground, caught 4 receptions for 54 yards. First game back. Welcome back to him. New England beats Carolina 24-6. Carolina sucks. They had a red-hot start, and they haven't been the same since. Giants smacked them. New England smacking them. Carolina is in for a very rough second half of the season. They had a couple of games in the beginning where they looked pretty decent. Darnold was looking all right. No McCaffrey. Maybe McCaffrey coming back and getting in a rhythm could help. But I think the Panthers are going to, 8 games left? They're going to lose 6 out of 8 of those. It's going to be a rough second half for you Panther fans. Jacksonville and Buffalo. This takes the cake for the biggest upset of the season. Biggest upset of the week. Man, those Buffalo Bills came back down to earth quite quickly. Quite quickly. The Buffalo Bills were unable to score a touchdown against the Jaguars. And they still lost. Josh Allen, awful day. 264 with 2 touchdowns. He did rush for 50 on the ground. Stephon Diggs, 6 receptions for 85 yards. No Jacksonville stat sheet, but Lawrence had 118 yards. He continues to just not be anything. Success in the NFL. 9-6. So, people that, I believe this game was in Buffalo. People that went to Buffalo bragging before the game, kind of like a lot of us Titans fans did. Well, happy day for you. Happy day for you. Baltimore and Minnesota. I continue to tell you that Kirk Cousins is a quarterback where he can have a great game, he can have a good game, and he can have an awful game. When Kirk Cousins is good, he's good. When Kirk Cousins is bad, he's bad. Good showing for Minnesota. They've hung tough with a lot of tough teams the last couple of weeks. Kirk Cousins, 187 with 2 touchdowns. Dalvin Cook, 110 on the ground. Justin Jefferson, 3 receptions, 69 yards and a touchdown. we get to the Baltimore side of things. Big game for Lamar, but not a perfect one. 266 through the air, 3 touchdowns, but he had 2 interceptions. But he did rush for 120. Hollywood Brown, 9 receptions, 116 yards. Baltimore wins against Minnesota. I believe this game was overtime. Baltimore beat Minnesota 34-31. They continue to be red hot in the AFC. They are vulnerable, but they're also a team that needs to be considered in the mix. The Chargers in Philadelphia. Kudos to the Eagles, coming off of a dominant win against a Detroit team that couldn't stop a fly with a fly swatter. However, they looked good against the Chargers, or good enough. Great game for Justin Herbert, 356 and 2 touchdowns. Keenan Allen, 12 receptions, 104 yards. Philly, Jalen Hurts, 162 yards and a touchdown. Jordan Howard, 71 and a touchdown. The Chargers get the win at the end. I believe they kicked a field goal as time expires. 27-24, the Chargers beat the Eagles. A great win for the Chargers. The Eagles are still bad, but they've had a good couple of weeks. I think a lot of Eagles fans are very questionable about how they feel about Jalen Hurts. Their run game usually is Miles Sanders, but it's all over the place. And also Devontae Smith, 5 receptions, 116 and a touchdown. So not a bad game from the Eagles. We have 2 more games to go over here. Kansas City and Green Bay. You put this game on paper a year ago, could be game of the year. Aaron Rodgers, bullshit. Now he's a diva. Aaron Rodgers is starting to become a diva. He's starting to become unlikable by fans. Top 5 quarterback ever. Unbelievable history. If the Packers want to win a Super Bowl and Rodgers wants another ring on his finger, now is the time. Rodgers is playing the best football of his career, but maybe he needs to just stop talking, stop lying. Rodgers did not play this game. Now, he got COVID, said he got the shot. You could still get COVID by getting the shot. He lied because he said he was, Aaron Rodgers was unvaccinated, but he made a statement saying that he was. Asshole alert. Jordan Love came in, first game in the NFL, and you could tell. 190, a touchdown and a pick. Nothing really better. Kansas City looks like a shell of the team they once were. They're winning games, but they look awful. Kansas City looks atrocious. Mahomes, 166 and a touchdown. Williams, 70 on the ground. Travis Kelce, 5 receptions for 68 yards and a touchdown. 13-7, Kansas City beats Green Bay. Could have been a great game, should have been a great game, but it wasn't. Last game we review, Arizona and San Francisco. Arizona surprised me in this game because I think a lot of us didn't really expect them to come out how they did. Granted that Hopkins and Murray weren't playing. I'm not sure. I knew they were questionable. I didn't know if they were a game-time decision. Good old Colt McCoy, who's made his way around the NFL, didn't play bad. 249 with a touchdown. Great game for James Conner, 96 and 2 touchdowns. Christian Kirk, 6 receptions, 91 yards. Not a bad game from the San Francisco side either. Garoppolo, 326, 2 TDs and a pick. George Kittle's first game back, and he wasted no time. 6 receptions, 101 yards and a touchdown. 31-17, Arizona beats San Francisco. They remain with the best record in the league at 8-1. San Francisco may have had a good stat sheet, but they got smacked. San Francisco is one of those teams where I know the NFC is so stacked, but if they get it rolling and they get it right, they could be a wild card team. I do not trust Jimmy Garoppolo with anybody. I would never trust him with my child. He's not good. He's not good. Tonight, Monday Night Football, Pittsburgh and Chicago. We talked about that earlier. All of this and so much more. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to the NFL Week 9 review. Enjoy your week.